Can we be seated, please? Time now, it's 12 o'clock. Good morning, councillors, directors, ma'am. Today it's 27 February 2023. We about to start with the special council on today. We will be circulating the attendance register. Is circulating. Please make sure that everybody signs the attendance register. While the attendance register is circulating, can we all please observe a moment for silent prayer and reflection? Thank you. Starting now. Amen. Thank you. We are in the order of business. We will proceed with point 3, the application for leave of absence. I have received an email from Councillor Aramsa stating that she won't be able to attend this morning due to personal matters arising that she is attending to. That's the only leave of absence that I have received. So, councillors is here? I have not received. Is Councillor Sethi still on her way? There she comes. Thank you, Councillor Sethi. He is present. We will then move to point 4. Point 4 deals with the declaration of interest. Is there any disclosure by any councillor? I take it none. We continue to point 5 on the order of business, the confirmation of minutes for previous meeting, the ordinary council meeting on 31st of January 2023. Yes, can you just take us page by page through the minutes, please?
Mr. Speaker, minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on Tuesday, 31st January 2023, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, page 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and that's on page 40.
That's the attendance register there. Council, is that a true reflection of the minutes? Councillor Nyal?
Speaker, I propose that we take the minutes as read. Correct.
Proposed by Councillor Nel. Councillor Kamkam.
Speaker.
Proposed by Councillor Nel, seconded by Councillor Kamkam. There is a true reflection. We will move to point 6. Point 6 is statements and communications by the Executive Mayor or Speaker. Executive Mayor, is there any communication?
Yes, Speaker, thank you very much. Today, obviously, as part of the special council meeting, we're tabling the second adjustment budget for the 2023 year. I just want to remind Council that the regional budget in its draft form that was drawn up by the previous CFO was initially unanimously rejected by Council on the 1st of March. And the reason for this is that we weren't happy with the figures that we have presented. So at this stage, Bitou Municipality had been without a municipal manager since the beginning of December 2021, when the previous illegally appointed municipal manager left Bitou Municipality. A new municipal manager, Mr. Mbelele Mamani, only started on the 4th of April 2022, and on finding out that the budget had been referred back, he advised that we, as council, have to approve the budget due to compliance issues. He also advised that any concerns we have around the incorrect budget would be corrected in an adjustment budget. So the draft budget was then approved and tabled and approved on the 7th of April 2022, and the budget itself was passed on the 7th of June 2022. At this point, it had also been realized that because of depleting of our own funds in the previous years, Bitou did not have enough of its own reserves to fund all the capital projects, and that borrowings of 37.8 million were necessary to fund the budget to ensure that service delivery items were catered for in the budget. The 2022-23 budget was thus passed, including the need for borrowings. Based on the budget approval, various projects that would be funded by the borrowings had been started by Bitou Municipality. So we're now at the point where Council needs to approve the application for these reduced borrowings in order to be able to continue with the capital projects that are planned. So since approval of the 2022-2023 budget, the municipal manager and the acting CFO have determined other items in the budget that were not correctly budgeted. Fuel and electricity had been incorrectly budgeted and needed correction, as well as some other items. Both fuel and electricity, the prices have increased dramatically, and budgeting for both have also been compounded by the current load shedding that's necessitating an adjustment. Load shedding has also caused increases in overtime, in repairs, and other issues that have been forcing changes to our budget. This has naturally presented problems to Bitou Municipality that are not of our own making. However, they need to be addressed by reallocating funds to ensure especially the continued service delivery of electricity, water, and also sanitation. Some electrical substations have to rely on manual switching, which is costly and also poses a risk to our staff as well. So I urge councillors to carefully consider the reasons and the clear motivations we received for the approval of the adjustment budget, as well as the loan that's needed to continue with proper service delivery. So with that, I'll table the second adjustment budget for 2023 before council for approval. Thank you, Speaker.
Thanks, Mayor. We will continue to point 7. We have no presentations. Point 8, items for information which has been dealt with by the Executive Mayor in terms of delegated authority. We have none. Point 9, Mayor.
Speaker, there was one that was mentioned at the last council meeting that began to ask for condemnation relating to MIG funding.
Repeat it again, Mayor.
There's an item on MIG funding that needed to be approved, and it's in the current agenda for condemnation. So I think it's the last item on the agenda. That is something that was dealt with by me to the council meeting.
Oh yes, the amendments to the grant funding. We will get back to that and reintroduce the item when it surfaces. Point 9, the noting of outstanding and partial implemented council resolutions. Nothing there. We then go to the consideration of reports under point 10, non-delegated matters. The portfolio of index. First section. Section 1, the office of the municipal manager. First item. Item C, stroke 1, stroke 126, stroke 02, stroke 23. The Bitou Junior Town Council Progress Report and Year Plan. You will find the item on page 44. Item is now serving. Councillor Nel.
Speaker, I propose that we take note of the content of the report and the recommendations of the municipal manager and secretaries.
Proposed by Councillor Nel. Deputy Mayor.
Seconded, Speaker.
Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Second item under the office of the municipal manager. Item C, stroke 1, stroke 127, stroke 02, stroke 23. Tabling of the proposed amended 2022-2023 top layer SDBIP service delivery and budget implementation plan. You would find the item on page 48. Item is now serving. Councillor Nel.
Speaker, I propose that we go with the recommendations of the municipal manager and take note of the report.
Proposed by Councillor Nel. Councillor Kamkam.
Seconded, Speaker.
Seconded by Councillor Kamkam. Third item on the office of the municipal manager. Item C, stroke 1, stroke 128, stroke 02, stroke 23. The appointment of acting director planning and development for the period 1st March 2023 until 30 April 2023. Item is on page 58. Item is now serving. Councillor Nel.
Speaker, I propose that we appoint Mr. David Friedman as the acting director planning and development for the period 1 March to the 30th of April, as the recommended by the municipal manager.
Thank you, Councillor Nel. Deputy Mayor.
Seconded, Speaker.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor. That concludes the section 1, office of the municipal manager. Section 2, finance. The following item has an additional annexure I that has been circulated. It was slightly amended. Item C, stroke 2, stroke 103, stroke 02, stroke 23. Incurring of long-term debt to the amount of 32,02,055,300 rand for the 2022-2023 financial year. The item is on page 62. Let me just firstly allow Councillor Kolwapi, then Councillor Tapai.
Speaker, can I stand up when I come to this item? Taking into cognizance that we did get 11 letters from a concerned resident. I will call it 11 letters because he expressed it as if we need to consider it of the communities, of which that is a beautiful land. Taking into consideration to that, I felt that we need to be taken through as this council when it comes to this. The reason that I'm standing appealing, I wish it could be a norm that every item before we second or whatever, I wish we can firstly observe the order of the council and the brief that we can at least get about the item. So in this case, I feel that I'm compelled to stand up and appeal to you that every time we've got an item in the council, we need to be briefed through. Some of us were new. Some of us will meet these things at the annual report. I would love firstly to be taken through this council that, have we ever had terms in this council? Your loan, have we ever, this council went through and do a loan, a borrowing? What was it for? And when is it ending? Because seemingly the love letter that we've did received as this council individually Whether it was blackmailing or what was it doing, I'm not sure. It makes as if it's the first time this council is going to take a loan. So I want to know this council to explain to us, was there a loan before? What was it for? So that we can understand, because according to my side, I understand that in order for us to be sustainable, we need to mix the ways of collecting money and making this to be for the council to be sustainable. Seemingly now, the person who have bombarded us with letters makes us if that were crooks in this council. Because it comes with something that I don't take light. It says the loan that is being done is only to make for the councillors to be crooks to steal the money. That I'm not taking light. Especially to know that the person who's concerned is not even staying in Bitou, is staying somewhere else. I don't mind if you've got a house here, but run the operations and the everyday run of the things, he's not part of. Secondly, I'm not taking it light that the person who bombarded us with letters is the person who criticized sitting on the privileged side of the things, looking things from a privileged eye. Whilst for the communities that are growing every day, that they need to be served in this community. So I'm appealing to you, can we be taken through so that we can know, well, it's something that is not done at all, or it was never done before, in order we can know the state of our finance in this council. Thank you. And also I would like to keep it at record that I didn't take it light, the fact that we are being alleged that we are crooks. Whatever we're planning here, we're planning because we've got an intention of stealing. That I'm not taking light as a Councillor Kolwabi. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kolwabi. Councillor Tabai.
I wanted to speak about the matter.
I will just take 15 minutes and then come back and still be taken through.
Municipal.
Can I grant you 10?
You are limiting us.
Okay, Councillor, if all other councillors is in agreement, I am personally agreeing. You are granted your 10 minutes as within your right to ask for a caucus. I'm granting you 10 minutes on my observation. If it need be, we will add the 5. Are you all right, Councillor Tabai?
Be clear, Speaker. Are you?
I'm granting you your 10.
What are you saying there? Again?
10 minutes.
On my observation, after the 10 minutes, if need be, we can grant you your 5 minutes extra. Is that okay with you?
So you know what we're going to discuss there.
I'm granting you your time, Councillor.
In my second meeting, I did indicate, and you would have seen the first three meetings, every item that comes to council, I always raise my hand to actually explain the item first. And that in that meeting, I think it was the third meeting where there seems to be unhappiness that you are actually giving me too much to lead council. So that's a decision that you have to take as council. You can go back and look at the recordings of that meeting. It was said in the meeting. I prefer that on items that I take them through all councillors. Not all councillors have the privilege of sitting in the executive. So those that are in the executive, would have received and discussed some of the items in the MACOM meetings. So those that are not sitting in the executives, there's two ways that we can deal with it. Felix suggested to MACO last week that when it comes to compliance item and budget items, that we do a session for all councillors to be taken through that specific item if it's a budget before it goes to council. Either we do it that way, or either I explain the items in the council meeting. You can discuss that as councillors and then give us guidance in terms of how we want. I don't mind. I prefer that way. But maybe to cut time in the council meeting, let's rather have that discussion in terms of what Felix suggested, that we take councillors through on all compliance items before they come to council, specifically when it has to do budget. Coming to this item, Speaker, this process is governed by Section 46 of the Municipal Finance Management Act. What it means then is that all projects that have been identified and approved by this council in the integrated development plan, they are actually then put and ranked in terms of the availability of funding. So when council considers these items, you have to look at the source of funding for the municipality. There's normally three, with the fourth one, which I'll explain. Source of funding for the municipality. So the first one is your own revenue generated from your provision of basic services, water, electricity, sanitation, and refuse river and land rates. That's your own source of funding. The second one is grant funding, which we receive from provincial and national government, and sometimes the district municipality. Then the third source of funding is loans, lienums. The loans is what you do in terms of balancing your mixture of source of funding, in terms of checking what is the capacity of the municipality in terms of its own available funding versus the demand that is there for the provision and upgrading of infrastructure. Then you do that balance in terms of what is affordability of the municipality and what can you borrow. Now, the same Act also makes provision in terms of other circulars. You will notice that the borrowing ratio of the municipality is very low. It's sitting at about what now? 14%. The borrowing ratio is sitting at 14%, but the norm, the standard norm, is actually 45%. It means the municipality has got a room to borrow money, but we have to be careful. Now, I'm not going to be technical in terms of our try and simplify. The CFO can assist. You cannot read that ratio on its own. You have to read the borrowing ratio with other ratio, the current ratio, the liquidity ratio, and all other ratios of the municipality in order to see whether if you take up this loan, you will have ability to be able to pay that money back. So our liquidity ratio is a challenge, as indicated from the onset when I started in the municipality. Liquidity ratio, it means that the municipality is not having sufficient cash to actually being able to meet its commitment. That ratio is supposed to be 3 in 1. It means we must have sufficient cash to pay for all our commitments for the next 3 months. We know currently is at in the financial statement 0.18. But with the February, January, I think it's 1 point something now. 1.9 ratio. So it's actually still less than that. What has caused this? What has caused this is that the municipality, the last loan that the municipality took was in 2017. What has caused this? The municipality, all the funding that it has received, instead of building cash reserve, the municipality utilized all of that money to actually do capital projects. Now, capital projects, like some of these which are indicated here, they've got a lifespan of 10 to 15 to 20 years. Now, usually when you do the funding mixture assessment, you then look at what is the capital infrastructure that you are building. And then you find that based on the funding source that will actually give you equivalent lifespan of that asset, but all others which are within a year or two or so, then you actually fund them through your own funding. So the municipality made a mistake. There was a long-term financial plan which was tabled in this council in 2013, was approved by council in 2013-14. I will provide that by end of the day to all councillors today via email. That long-term financial plan indicated the source of funding and said, this is how you should structure in terms of building, in terms of upgrading or renewing infrastructure. You must have a mixture of loans, own funding. The grant funding is very minimal because it's dependent on national government. For example, Victor is crying to me now that I don't know VISEC in English. Water Service Infrastructure Grant. For a number of years, we have received that grant. Suddenly, we have not received it. Now, we're talking about an amount that is close to 15 million that we normally receive, but we have not received. So you cannot rely on grant because you don't know if it's guaranteed that you're going to receive. Two main sources of funding for the municipality is called a balancing act, is on loans as well as the own source of funding. That is why the municipality depleted its own reserves, because it actually used all of its reserves. Instead of building the reserves for future capital investment, it utilized its reserve for the operations and all other situations. So Section 46 of the Municipal Finance Management Act says council must consider this when they table the draft budget and approve the budget. So did this council consider this? Yes, council did consider this. These are the projects that this council considered in March as well as in May, June when the budget was approved. These projects, I'll just go quickly. The first one is the upgrading of a stormwater drainage system, which this council indicated that it's a serious problem in all wards. That's the first one. The second one is the connecting of the Saringa Road in New Horizon, linked to the development that is happening of Ebenezer now, that we have to do that opening, 2.5 million. Upgrade of the sewer reticulation system. Specifically, what Councillor Pollard said, sometimes it's very difficult and easy for people who are sitting. So where we're looking at these issues as administration in this council, we consider all wards. Councillor Seti, Councillor Manaba are sitting with the situation of storm or of sewage, that is blocking Monokotula, specifically in not phase 4, phase 2. The problem with that, and we've checked it with Victor, we went to visit the site and I've checked with Faisal again, and Faisal was explaining to me, and it's so unfortunate, it was an old contract. The pipe that was put there is wrong because you don't put that size of the sewage. So either at that time the contractor took a shortcut, I'm not saying that is the case, either took a shortcut or the specifications that were made at that time. That is why that area is going to sit with this problem of sewage. This council has to consider at some point to correct and put the correct pipe meter. Is it 250, 240, 160?
250 from a 110.
From a 110. So you've got 110. 110 is just a small size of pipe that the whole sewage was there. So it gets blocked in certain areas, especially if people then start to throw in other things. So that is for that. Vetted drift lane, SPS, without going to all of them in detail. Then you've got the generators. We need generators and we applied for funding. We were not sure we're going to receive the funding, but fortunately we received 5.6 from the province to add to our 1 million. So that when the electricity of Eskom is off, we're able to have generators kicking in and working in our water purification plant and our water service plant so that we're able to pump. If you go to the next page, this matter was also discussed in terms of the education of informal settlement. We discussed it thoroughly. Jermaine said that we have not received money from INEP. Then we, as this council, collectively said, we will fund this project and claim the money back from INEP, should INEP at that time allocate the money to us. We said, we cannot leave the community without electricity. So that is the electrification of informal settlement. My understanding, I think it's in Council Mhlana, in majority. I'm not saying other ones are not going to be done. In majority, proposed to 80% is that one. Then you've got street lights in terms of issues of crime. The Nature's Valley Reservoir, which needs to be upgraded. And then there was tower. So what have we done? We've then, in terms of the process, approved this project with the approval of the budget. So council has approved this project and has approved the update taking up of the loan. The process then is, after council has approved that, then the municipality must do what we call public participation process, which we have done. We then ask the public and tell them that these are the projects that we want to do. Please submit your comments in terms of us as a municipality taking a loan. But we don't only send that information to the public, we send it to provincial and national treasury to also comment in terms of the legislation. That process then comes in, we receive all of those comments from the public, we consider them, we sit with the executive mayor, he consider all of them and then he responds to them. And those responses are included in this item today in terms of what the people are actually raising. There is also a comment from Provincial Treasury that we have received. It cautions us because of our liquidity position. We have taken that into consideration as well. So all of that information is included in terms of that. Then the last phase is to then go out on tender, and then you get a bank that is successful. The unfortunate part now is that that tender is on evaluation stage now or specification now. The unfortunate part is that on Friday last week, we got into a grey listing day starts, but South Africa, not Bitou Municipality. So we're going to be evaluated as South Africa in terms of a grey listing status, but also Bitou will be separate. So all the banks will say that is it risk for us as a bank to give money to Bitou Municipality? Then they say, because of this risk, the interest that we're going to charge is not 10%, it's 12%, it's 13%. So they will factor those things in. So we don't know yet until the banks have submitted their tenders what will be the interest rate. What we usually do, because we are trained in terms of cognitive skill, as directors, we must apply our mind and think and apply the theory in terms of understanding what would be the interest rate that would actually be applicable, which we have done, but it might not necessarily be accurate because we were not expecting when the time of this approval of loan that will be in a grey listing status. So that is a process that is outlined by the legislation. So we have done all of that process. The CFO has responded comprehensively to all the comments that were made. I must say, I also take exception on behalf of the staff that reports to myself, the CFO, and I also take serious exception on behalf of this council. If people are having any allegations that this council intends to steal the 38 billion, they are allowed to go and report that at the police station. We cannot brush this council. I'm talking about this council that is sitting in front of me collectively. We cannot brush this council with one brush that they are a bunch of thieves who intend to steal the money, because this council took a resolution to provide basic services to these communities through this item that were actually approved in the IDP and in the budget. That is why this council has applied its mind in terms of these projects and how these projects should be funded, So I take also, Speaker, a serious exception. That letter was sent to councillors individually. I can also confirm it was sent to Provincial Treasury and the Premier. They've alerted, I've discussed it with the Office of Treasury. I'm also meeting with Provincial Treasury, myself and Felix tomorrow at 2 after the acceptance cabinet so that we can then take them through in terms of the situation of the finances of the municipality and what are the plans for the municipality. So this process has followed the legislative framework. Unfortunately, we cannot get in detail one by one because some of those things are just insults, and some of them are suggesting that we should use grant funding I don't know whether it's an issue, but I think that one we can forgive because it's an issue of misunderstanding. Because people think you can just go and take grant funding. Grant funding depends on allocation from national and provincial government. So you cannot say we're not going to take loans, we're going to take grant funding. I think I've elaborated. If there's anything that I'm missing, perhaps the CFO can actually speak up, and I doubt if there's anything that I'm actually missing.
Thanks, Emil. Councillor Kolope, I hope to a large extent you are partly covered in terms of the explanation. I will bring back to Councillor Tabai, he's standing after the break. Councillor Tabai.
Oh, Speaker, I think we're on the item.
Yes.
Now, Speaker, we want to raise, because we read the report especially from page 67. We read the report especially from page 67. Well, I read also other reports, but when we deal with the ratepayers will always be ratepayers. And as this bench, that is the ANC, we said, and we're looking at the possibilities, if there are any, and challenges, difficulties about the borrowing of this loan that is going to be coming from 35 now up to 32. Now, Speaker, we want to borrow the money at the worst time, because we view that we are borrowing, or we want to borrow money at the wrong time. Why we are saying it is the wrong time? It's not the right time that council must borrow money. Just now, the repo rate was just raised by SARB to 75 basis points, and moreover, the revenue collection is very low. And really, it's circumstances that led to that. You will remember that we are coming from COVID, and where the revenue collection was really very low. And again, I must mention, immediately after COVID, people lost jobs. They lost jobs even COVID. And again, we have another challenge of load shedding. It also hampers on how people react in terms of pay. So we are struggling as council to collect revenue as much as we would have loved. Now, Speaker, again, we have, I didn't hear the municipal manager giving us, really, do we have other existing loans as council, and what is their term? I thought we were going to get that. We must be told that we do have these loans, and what is their span in terms of, and also we read that this loan will be a 10-year loan, almost 20 installments at the interest of 3.5 million a month. So again, Speaker, because we viewed this report as a very concerning report. It even said that council will have to cater again to the next financial year when it goes to the budgetary amendment provisions for adjustment budget, so as to cater for this loan. It means really we are in trouble if we are borrowing at this time. You see, as families also, you don't just rush, go to the bank, whereas you know that you will be suffocated by interest. You look at least, you see, for a time where everything it's becoming normal, and then you go for it. So also the CPI exiting ITF. So Speaker, the report, I'm not talking about ratepayers and so on. I'm only talking about the report that has been written by our own officials. That really, to us, it is a concerning report. And therefore, with those, Speaker, we as the ANC, we object to the borrowings as council for this loan that is 32 million. Thank you very much.
Councillor, I will be with him now. Okay. You said as the ANC, can I have individual recordings? Yes, sir?
I, Sandy Sotabai, object to the borrowing of a loan of an amount of 32 million. Thank you.
I, Samgele, Alungato Lamla Manaba, object of the borrowing.
I, Tamela, Shana,
I, Nukutula Seti, I object to the borrowing of 35 million.
It seems I will be with you now. I must first recognize Councillor Mhlana. I just needed to record in terms of ANC councillors that objected.
let me deal with the issue of the other loans, Speaker, and also explain the process and caution council. Because this is an easy matter, and I would want council to listen very carefully. It was an easy matter before you take other hands. Let's start quickly with the issue of other loans. That report is given to council every month in terms of other loans. Alex, I'm not sure you have it in front of you, but my understanding is that by end of June this year, we are redeeming. Redeeming, it means we are paying fully back an amount of 20 million, is that correct? Around 20 million. So on the old loans that we have been paying back, by June this year, there's an amount of 20 million that we would have paid back fully. And
21 and all.
that's 21 million that we would have paid back. So the principle is always you try and borrow your redemption. You borrow what you have actually paid so that it does not create an additional burden to the municipal. Because the difference that you're going to pay on interest now is the difference between the 32 million proposed and the redemption, which is about 11 million. So that I want council to understand. Secondly, councillors, these are the projects that we have approved. This is the loan that you already approved yourself. This is what you approve yourself. Now, I would caution that, Speaker, we take a break. This council must then come and tell us now, remove these projects, which you already approved yourself here. This council must take that decision for us because these projects are supposed to be continuing. Then we reduce these loans, Felix, to the 20 million that we are redeeming. That decision is your decision, it's not my decision. That is my advice. We take that break. These councillors, all of them, they must then tell us. Then we actually pay, we only take a loan of 20 million of that we are redeeming back. And then there's no effect in terms of the interest rate, because the interest rate that we're going to pay, the interest is only on the difference between what we are redeeming, which is the 21 million, 33 million less 21 million. That is actually an additional loan that we are taking. So, having said that, Speaker, I think it's not our call, it's the decision of this council. They must go to their communities and explain that these projects, they have taken them back because of the interest rate, because of the timing. Because at the time when you approved this project, you could not have projected. We cannot project in 2 years' time that the municipality will be on junk status or be on grey listing status. So I would leave it at that, Speaker. That is a decision of council to take.
Thanks, MM. I have that. I will take now. I must first go to Councillor Mhlana, then the Executive Mayor.
Yeah, Speaker, I think there's a proposal on the floor proposed by the municipal manager. But I wanted to just get clarity on one or two issues. The borrowing, it's well and good, as Councillor, the Chief Whip of the ANC said, but we need to take into cognizance that we don't want to put the same people which were saying we want to borrow for on the burden of their electricity impact because they are not paying. Because being indigent does not mean you must not pay at all. And also taking into consideration that the threshold, we have increased the threshold to 5,200 as this council. So I just wanted to get a clarity on that as to our people, whether they, because this is not only about ratepayers, it's not only ratepayers who pay for services or rates. We do pay, our people do pay for services as well. And we don't want to be held in this council tomorrow to be told that we are cutting electricity. The CFO say we are cutting electricity, we must pay, we must repay the loan that we have taken. So those are the issues that Speaker will need clarity on.
Councillor, let's, if it's allowable, can I want to respond on each individual?
Speaker, we don't cut electricity because people are not paying the money back for the loan. We cut electricity because people are owing and they need to pay for the provision of all services. So we must not try and isolate and link the issue of payment of services to a loan. We provide other services, refuse removal, electricity, water, and all other services. So we provide those services. People get cut because they have not either they've made arrangements as required in terms of the policy approved by this council, or they have actually fallen behind in terms of, so they are paying for their services, so it's not only linked in terms of this thing, it's total services that they receive that they need to pay for. I think that clarity I can provide. Yes, we have increased the threshold to 5,200, 300, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of the policy that has been approved by council. That increase is actually meant to assist exactly what the councillor is saying. Because if you look at that threshold, it was linked to the housing subsidy of 3,000 and something. And everyone has found out that the people who are paying, who are earning 3,900 get excluded on the housing, but they also get excluded in terms of benefiting rebates of the municipality. Because that threshold has been there since 1994 and has not been actually aligned in terms of the movement of time. That is what this council did, and consider that threshold and increase that threshold so that it accommodates those people that are earning more than that 3,500, so that those people can also benefit in terms of the rebates that they are getting from the municipality. So those people are getting additional rebates because the threshold has actually been increased. Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you. Is it covered, Councillor Mhlana?
Yeah, I'm covered, but Speaker, municipality pays the difference. Pays the difference of that, what the MM now has just explained, the national threshold and vis-a-vis the 5.2. Municipality does pay. So, hence I was asking, will this not at a later stage bring burden to the same people, which was who's supposed to pay? Who's supposed to pay? The people who are supposed to pay will be your ratepayers and people who are staying here who are paying for services. Nobody else. and through those services that the people must pay for. That's how we're going to repay the same loan, not from anywhere else. So that's what we wanted to engage on, so that we are all, when a decision is taken, we all understand the decision. Thanks.
Thank you. Executive Mayor, then Councillor Kamkam.
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to confirm, if I recall correctly, when the budget was calculated, we worked on a collection rate of 81%, if I'm correct. I don't know if I can verify that. We worked on getting 81% of funding in to cover the budget, although our target obviously is 95%. And our collections have averaged between 80, 99, again over 90%. So we seem to be on track in terms of what our anticipated collections were. Obviously, we do know that our situation is not the best, and we're going to work towards getting to that 95%. So I just wanted to find out if I understood that correctly. And then also, I think we must just also be careful when we speak of ratepayers. All of us and the community that pay rates are ratepayers. But Ratepayers Association is something different that does not necessarily represent all the ratepayers. So we must just, when we talk ratepayers, be clear who we're talking about, and not lump everyone in an association that they might not belong to.
Thank you. Mayor, Councillor Kamkam.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, given the explanations and the introductions also by the Executive Mayor in his speech, and we do have an annex in front of us that gives us an indication of what exactly this money would be spent for. The MM also put another proposal on the table, which will mean that we will have to then send this item back. We will have to reconvene and try and find some type of agreement as to what projects goes off and what stays. And I can tell you now, right now, that will be a fight on its own. So given the fact that we as a municipality at this present moment, it's not as if we've got cash reserves that we can fall back on to actually secure and make sure that some of these projects that we have approved previously in our budget, that I'm sure some of these projects are already probably at BAC level and all of that, that we can continue with our objective for service delivery. It is very unfortunate that we find ourselves in this situation. Borrowing is a normal thing. The issue is, how are we going to manage our finances to make sure that we actually improve on our collection rate, and that we also, in terms of our expenditure, that we cut out all the unnecessary things so that we can focus on our service delivery. So I would propose, Speaker, that we accept the recommendations from the Executive Mayor. That's my proposal.
Councillor, I didn't want to interrupt. I still want to go and let us. Councillor, I will be with you. Can I ask that we take the break and then have an engagement further on and then come back? I'm asking you because it was requested. If the majority
voted against it.
Can I ask that we take a break quickly?
No.
All right. Councillor, I will please then ask that I understand your point of view, but are you still gonna, can I ask that we take a break, please? Let's take a break. Councillor Ntai, after the break, it's you. I take of the standing of proposals.
No, I want.
Member CFO, we are ready when you are.
Thanks, Speaker. Speaker, there's, as I said in my proposal, but it's for council to discuss and decide, Part of the solution is to really reduce the 35 million to the 21 million, which is reducing these projects to only about by 30 million. Where to start? We can start with the project of Kobeni, that 3 million, remove that 3 million and wait for grant funding from National Treasury, from INEP actually, and apply for funding. And it means that we're not going to electrify all of those informal settlements. We wait until we get a letter from INEP whether they're going to fund us. Bear in mind, Speaker, that the Gazette is already out now from National Treasury. So if we wait for that, then it means we're waiting for November. And in November, we're not guaranteed that we get to that. The second project that we can look at is the stormwater project, the 5 million, to reduce it as well to about 2.5. But then we focus in terms of the engineering services department advice that what is that area? Drift is a floodline area, is the one that is having all of these problems, meaning all other ones are not getting anything in terms of upgrading of stormwater drainage. And then we can reduce, also there was one project that we can reduce here, because other projects, if projects that the municipality cannot do without. And I want to be on record, Speaker, here, that there's no misunderstanding. The Saringa Road, we cannot reduce because you are building a Beniza, it's going to be completed, so you need that opening of that road. So that's an option that council is actually having. We cannot reduce the spare pumps and motors for the pump stations, the capital spare of 7 million. So that's what council have to consider, or council stick to its decision in terms of the laws that they've already approved. Thanks, Speaker.
Thanks, Evan. Councillors, there's a clear explanation. We have listened to all possible debates around this matter. I will, before I go to Councillor Ndai, the facts is in front of us. As council, we must make decisions. Can I ask that we make a decision on this matter raised before us? It's your decision to take now, councillors.
Speaker.
No, I was Councillor Mhlana ask a request something.
Yeah, no, before him speak.
Councillor Tsabai.
There was a caucus that was asked. I don't know whether it's the speaker you asked the caucus.
No. MM requested that we break. After the break, we came back. He explained in terms of the reason for the break, what decisions were to be taken. Then why the MM has explained after the break what was discussed in the break.
Speaker, this is confusing. I'll explain why. Because the MM said, as you are saying, he asked for a break through you. And the MM left with the other councillors without us.
No. He didn't leave. He left on his own. Councillors followed on their own route. We were sitting here. They decided, I know, MM was sitting here. And before MM left, Councillor Nyal walked out. Councillor, the executive mayor went out. So we were sitting here. And the MM left on his own after consultation with the director. He left on his own.
So, Speaker, you didn't explain then to us what was the break for? Who is going to come up? You should have said it here in council. Listen. You should have said it here in council that I'm giving an opportunity to the executive mayor so as to meet with the MM. You see, but it was a very, that is why I'm confused. That is why I'm asking you. You see, that is why I'm asking you.
Councillor Tsabai, no, I think we are wrong.
No, it's fine.
We asked for a break to get clarity around how possible it will influence our decision towards the loan.
With who?
Listen, Councillor, you voted against it. We decided, let's come up with a possible way, how best we can implement it, reduce it to a suitable amount. I will be with you now, Councillor. The break was called. After the break, it was explained that this decision is possibly going to be taken to make sure we reduce the amount. Hence, MM has explained that. There was no need to say, we're going to take a break, MM is going there, Maye is going there. We asked for a break, we granted the break, MM came back and explained after the break.
This item belongs to council.
Yes. I fully understand it. Hence, we have not made a decision.
And whoever takes a decision about the item.
Councillor Mhlana?
Speaker, I hand.
No, he requested. I'm just going to listen to him.
My hand, Speaker, before you said it, my hand was asked. Before everyone.
I fully take Councillor Ndai, I fully take note. I just want to listen what is raised.
Seems like nothing raised.
No, you're still on the floor. I'm going to speak that Councillor.
Speaker, I'm very worried with the conduct, or our conduct. It seems, no, don't laugh about this. It seems as if we are taking decisions based on emotions. You know, it's not the first time where we had to deal with issues. At some point, one meeting, the recording devices were switched off. We sat here and discussed, we took a decision. The commitment by the council to electrify when was this half and Zawazal has nothing to do with Tembe. And I remember, Speaker, in the budget meeting, where people of New Horizon felt that they were left outside. We stood up for people of New Horizon. Because the commitment is not a commitment for individuals or to get individuals. This executive is not executive of a certain area, it's an executive of Bitou. Now, when we are here and we are exercising our right to debate and interrogate issues, it does not mean that a punitive measure. Some councillors must go outside and come back and take a punitive measure to punish people of Bitou because there is a disagreement. You know, it's very unfortunate what I'm seeing happening. And now the MM goes outside, the municipal manager goes outside, all the other councillors left, they come back, and there's something read to us. I don't know if these are the rules, new rules, something read to us that we are now amending the projects that were here. So I would appeal to you, Speaker. I would appeal to you.
Councillor Mhlana, I will again rephrase myself. We all sat here for you to say that the executive went after the MM is wrong. Because as far as I can recall, and the recording can shows, before the call of the break, councillors was ready to go. And I called the break. The MM remained inside. You as a councillor who said now, councillors left after the MM to go to the MM. It is wrong because me and the rest of the councillors on this stage. No, I gave you a chance.
No.
I'm saying it because you are saying things that is not correct. No, councillor left after the MM. It's wrong what you are saying.
Let me call for.
No, councillor. Let's deal with this matter. We will deal with this matter. I must recognize Councillor Ndai. I just wanted to say that you are wrong by saying the things that you have said about councillors walking after the MM. That is wrong.
Thank you, Speaker.
Councillor Ndai?
Thank you, Speaker. Our second council come because I would love to see the service delivery in Ward 3, in Ward 5, in Ward 6, as those bench on that side, they don't want the service delivery in their wards while they are ward councillors. Thank you, Speaker. They have to take back to the community what they are saying there. Thank you, Speaker.
Just before we move, Councillor Nell, I will be with you now. Councillors, I will give to Councillor. Okay, I will give to you then afterwards, and I'm going to make remarks. Councillor Kolwapi.
I will stand again as a person who appeals. I appeal. Honestly, we were still on an item of 52 million. Yes, the ANC councillors opposed or rejected, but still, it was not taking away the prerogative of the council because they opposed. I'm here appealing that let's not even entertain the fact of altering this budget. I'm here appealing to that. If we have to talk here, let's talk all of us considering this budget, if it had to be. Let's unify according to this. Because as the MMF said, it is something that we have already budgeted for and promised our communities about this thing from the IDP and the SDP. Now, if we cut off, still, how we go? What processes are we supposed to take when we have to change this whole thing? I'm here appealing that whatever we're doing, let's unify towards this same budget. To me, this budget speaks sense to all works, to all services that needs to be done, to all works. So if it goes out and come back now with 21 million again, it makes us as if we're not sure about this budget. For me, I would still be glad if I can hear from our CFO, making us sure that, because the concern of the ANC, it says, we are borrowing in the wrong times. For us to say we are in the right time as National Treasurer and everybody was saying, yes, we are in a tight state of our finances. I would love a CFO to take us to and say, where are we going to get some monies? There are loans that are going off. If these loans are going off on June, how much is that will be released and add here? So that all of us can be comfortable. Because the concern of the rejection of the ANC councillors, it was because they say it is the wrong time, of which there's nothing wrong for people to raise those concerns. But that was not leading us to say, let's change this budget. I'm still appealing to this council. Thank you.
Councillor Kolwapi, thank you. Before I give to the CFO, if you take note that we did not amend even the resolutions are standing, the proposal, the second is proposed and second towards the resolution. Nothing has changed in the resolution. I would also like again to say here that we make use of the declaration of interest through the Chief Whip's role to bring us together before council. That's why it is clear that we can use that, come together and talk in our interest on certain items on the agenda. So both Chief Whip and Chief Whip of the opposition parties, I ask that we make use of the clause so that we sit prior to this. Council or councillors only are being granted 5 minutes time. There is no provision for sessions within unless the majority decide to take a break or ask for a caucus. So with that said, I must also say, sitting here, being part of the executive, I am well informed around this matter. The day when I voted to elect capable directors to lead us, to vote a capable municipal manager, that's the day that I put my trust in all of them. For them to sit here today and must lead me and give my vote for them to be here today. If any case happen in future that they must let me here today, I will take it definitely up, because the day when we elected them, I was part of that vote to elect them and sit here as directors, to not only lead me as a new council, but to lead the whole of Bitou Municipality, Plettenberg Bay, to higher heights. Then that's why my vote was there, although against all other options. So I'm sitting here today saying that Director, CFO, Engineering, Planning, Community Service, as the head of administration, my decision is in favor. If I found that you have must let me as a representative of my political party, I will definitely come back and take it up. So thank you on that. CFO, then Councillor Nyal, and we can go to the next item. Although the item is closed.
We have to vote, Speaker, sorry. There was a proposal, sorry, there was a proposal.
In terms of the rules of order,
The
Speaker,
ANC
we have to
councillors
vote.
voted against.
Against, okay.
I propose that we go with the item in the annexure as is without any amendments. That was my proposal. So can we please go over to a vote?
I will continue. I will lead us to the vote.
Yes, Speaker.
Please make sure
I seconded, but we need to vote.
it is a majority on the side that is proposed and seconded.
Don't have to record our names.
No.
Now, let's record our names. Just for
Can we
purpose.
have a recording in favor of it?
Yes. So record
Record the
ourselves.
names, Speaker, in.
Can we record the names in favor of it?
Yes.
Councillor Swart in favour of it.
Councillor Mavis Bosaka in favor of the loan so that it can do betterment for our communities.
Councillor Nell in favour of the proposal.
Councillor Kamkam in favor of the recommendations.
Councillor Olivier in favor of the recommendations.
Councillor Ndai is favor of the recommendations.
Councillor Kolwapi in favor of the recommendations.
We have the previous recording of the 4 councillors of the ANC. I'm also stating here, Councillor Terblanche in favor of the loan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Plana, then we can move.
Speaker, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it for the last time. I think the way you are treated in this council is uncalled for. Look, we're a minority. But the way things are being done, I think it's uncalled for and it's against the rules. You know, I think that I need to state this. It's bad. Yeah. The experience that I've seen today here is really bad.
To say the least. Thank you, Councillor Plana. We will move to the next item. The next item is item C, stroke 2, stroke 104, stroke 02, stroke 23. The second adjustment budget. Adjustment budget for 2022, 2023. You would find it's an addendum. It's on page 3 to 112. The item is now serving. Yeah.
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to first make note of on page 4 in the recommendations, recommendation by the Municipal Manager that the first point number 1 should read that the second annual adjustment. That is incorrect. Has it been changed?
Yeah.
Okay. And I just want to remind us why we need to do an adjustment budget. I did mention some of the issues earlier on, but just for reasons why we do an adjustment, it is in the item, but just to remind everyone that the reason we do and the reason we're doing this adjustment budget is to adjust the revenue projections downward. It's evident that we're not going to make our revenue targets. It's no use budgeting for something where we know we're not going to receive the money. We need to adjust accordingly. And then to also adjust expenditure upwards, where it's evident that the allocations were insufficient to address service delivery needs of the community. We've seen that through the load shedding especially. We're incurring additional costs in fuel and other costs as well, so we obviously need to plan for that so that we don't overspend on items. And then also to correct areas identified in the original budget and to use the savings in one vote towards spending on another. That would also prevent possible variance going forward if our allocations are correctly. Obviously, errors, we did say we did initially reject the budget because of errors. This is the chance now that we can address those errors. And then also to incorporate additional grant funding that we've received. And we know we've received the 5.6 million rand grant funding from the Western Cape government towards procuring generators and a few others. So this is a reminder why we're doing an adjustment budget and why it's necessary to do an adjustment budget. So with that, Speaker, I would like to propose that we go with the recommendations of the
Proposed by the Executive Mayor. Councillor Tsapai, then Councillor Nyal. Yes, Councillor Tsapai.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I just want clarity, man, because the last council meeting, we had a challenge of rollovers. Are we then going to be able to finish the money that we have in terms of rollovers? Because we're in March now.
Yeah. Will we be able to finish the money in terms of rollovers because we are in March?
Yeah, that's the indication I've received from the directors where the funding is. On the rollovers amount, yes, we'll be able to finish the amount that was budgeted for all the. That's the indication that I have received. On the new budget, where we saw that projects are delayed, slightly reduce those projects to make it up in terms of the time.
So before council, it is stated that we will finish all projects.
At what percentage are we in terms of the existing? Are they new projects or continuing projects? If they are on continuing, at what percentage are they in now?
Chair, that report went to section 80. It's a separate report in terms of. I don't have the figures in my head now in terms of that. We don't have new projects because even the project of the 5.6 grant funding for generator, it was a project that was already there. We just applied for funding. We were unable to fund it on our side. So we have not put in any new adjusted, as the last item will indicate, within the projects that were there on MIG, to ensure that we spend on projects that are doing very well and we reduce projects that are slightly behind.
You answered, Councillor Tapai?
I'm answered because unfortunately we didn't have a section 80 committee on my part. I don't know whether it was done in a dark room.
Finance was earlier.
It was not done in a dark room. I cannot determine whether I should make a call about that. It was done in a section 80 of engineering services because bulk of the spending is at engineering services, And I would want to caution Speaker, people should reciprocate. Reciprocate means you should be able to accept when people are making nasty comments against you. I don't think there's anything that this administration is doing in the dark room. If this is the way that we're going to behave, I think this administration will throw that back, and the councillor should be able to take it at the chin when we throw it. They don't do things on the dark rooms. That's not what we do in this administration that I'm
And just before you, I shouldn't have given you a chance. Yes, Councillor Tapai, my answer in this was that it is a bit really incorrect or not appropriate language that you on a consistent basis in this council use and trying to get a message across. Your answers has been given. We allow you in most instances your questions, but during the time of your questions, you throw words that is not suitable for council or it is taking seriously offense by the directors that you are raised, and I must say, Councillor Mslana, to you, you have raised it that you are being treated. Now, please note what the chief whip of the opposition is always throwing at our administration.
What is this?
So I'm just raising it here. Please take note on how we are being treated.
Responding that
yes, sir.
Didn't have a section 80 committee.
In a dark room, which is wrong.
What is wrong with dark room? Tell me.
You have had your fair chance. Thank you, councillors. You have had your fair chance.
The dark room is the behavior that was done previously in this council when the budget was not approved. To go and consult lawyers to say, write a letter and say that the budget was approved. When it was not approved, in the report.
Thank you very much. Can we control, councillors? I'm not recognizing you any further.
You mentioned my name.
Can you hold?
No.
Can you hold? I've made a ruling. Please respect my ruling.
No, what ruling?
I've said it. Can we continue, councillor? No.
You have addressed me.
In my communication or response to councillor, I will continue now. It's fine. I will continue after councillor. No. What do you want to respond to, councillor? Please feel free to respond. Then we can move. I'll allow councillor to respond and then we will move.
I'm seeing you.
Councillor Kamkam, your hand is next. Please continue, sir. Councillor.
Speaker, I'm saying this again. Your council is deteriorating. and we are becoming paid, seriously paid.
Mudslinging.
You know, when I said here, the MM left and the executive mayor left, you spoke of something as if I was insinuating something wrong. Although I was referring to what has happened. Please, Speaker, please, I'm begging you. And if you are addressing a councillor, address a councillor, don't refer to another person. Address a councillor in terms of the rules.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kamkam, your hand was up.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I would ask if we can then get the acting CFO to just give clarity on the approach taken during the adjustment budget. If it would put other councillors to rest, or their fears or their concerns to rest. I think that would be advisable, Speaker, if we can do that. I think, that would be very helpful.
CFO?
Speaker, ek gaan nou, maar het die regte dokument kry.
Debat is jou ver weg.
Right, so when we, the approach for the adjustment budget, firstly, we alerted council already in all the financial reports so far this year, it may be necessary to do an adjustment budget because of the errors contained in the budget. It was approved in June the 7th, I do believe. So as the financial results came in month to month, we could see that there was an underperformance on the revenue side of it, which it seemed that incorrect information was captured in the budget by those who did the budget at that time. I don't know for what reason. It was not accurate enough to ensure that the actual performance would meet the budgeted targets. Not only was the problem on the revenue side, it was also on the expenditure side. When I did the financial analysis for council on the financial situation when I started here, I also discovered that there was certain anomalies in the budgeted figures with regards to especially the fuel expenditure and some salary-related expenses that seems to have been cut at the time of budget submission just to balance the budget. Thinking back of the past trends on expenditure items such as overtime and standby allowances, it seems it was the actual performance at the year prior to the current budget year was not taken into account, and those items were to balance the budget. Also, fuel expenditure, where actual expenditure was nearly 6 million, but yet only 3 million was budgeted for fuel expenditure. Considering the huge fuel price increases as well as the load shedding, where we are burning some days in excess of 20,000 rands worth of fuel in this municipality. We had to make provision for the additional fuel expenditure, which exceeds 7 million. I think accurate figure 7.2 million in addition. Also analyzed other expenditure items and came to discover it was 12 million under budget in purchases. Now, from the annual financial statements that was drafted, going to the original budget, the amount for bulk purchases stayed the same, although there was probably a 9% increase in estimate. So that was never factored into the budget. Also considering the 18.65% increase to Eskom for the months of April, May and June was not factored into the budget. Obviously, you would never factor in such a huge increase towards paying the Prince of Darkness. Nonetheless, we had to correct it in the budget, and that's how we came up with the difference. So 27 million in revenue was cut from the budget because it would not realize. Also, a certain contract on the traffic fines did not realize or did not commence on July, but only in September or October. which means that we had to cut that portion. Current payment rate, Mayor referred to, is 85% in the budget. We made additional provision for that, as we could see from the onset of the year that we were not going to make it, although a credit control effort is now underway and it has increased subsequent to us implementing those measures. So those were the main reasons that we had to adjust the budget. It was alluded to in the mid-year budget and performance report to council. We were very clear with a conclusion that said, considering what we have discovered first half of the year, an adjustment budget would be necessary. So that is the reasons why that assist the mayor in fulfilling his financial responsibilities, preparing the draft budget that the mayor tabled here today for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO. Councillor Mhlana, then Councillor Kamkam.
Yeah, Speaker, I'm not even sure if we're allowed to speak. But as much as liberation, it took 300 years. And ultimately our people will be liberated. I want to ask from the CFO, because I looked and I could not find whether we've budgeted enough for emergency, because we have been doing requirements or deviations on emergency materials, and people up until today, they have not been assisted. People, their shares were burned down in November.
CFO?
I don't have the exact figure, Speaker, but we did budget for it. The reason why people were not supplied with materials was not because of a budget not being available, it was because of a supply chain process. We all know the AG's point of view with regards to supply chain processes. If you make a mistake on that, it is irregular expenditure, and we cannot afford to record further irregular expenditure in this municipality. So there is money sufficiently available for those emergency materials. It is just that the correct supply chain process must be followed when acquiring these.
Thank you. Councillor Mhlana?
Speak. We're told there's no money. It was not budgeted adequately. Now, I'm shocked now to what the CFO is saying, but it was because of supply chain issues. And I went to the municipal manager, and he had to try this thing, and the executive mayor. So I don't know, man, this attack, it seems as if there's an attack, and I think that attack is directed at wrong people. I don't know this attack, and I think it's a wrong attitude.
You went here last time.
Director, do you want to comment?
Speaker, Councillor Mhlana used the correct word, sufficient budget. So in order to cater sufficiently, we had to do a little bit of environment to top up. The tender was advertised, because if we do a tender, it's over 200,000. So we had to do that adjustment. The RFQ was, I have informed the councillor that the tender could not proceed because we only had one bidder and we weren't happy that it was cost effective. We proceeded with an RFQ process. Supply chain confirmed on Wednesday, the 22nd. The RFQ was advertised on Tuesday, the 21st. And the RFQ will close tomorrow for the emergency housing materials. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. I hope that covers you, Councillor Mhlana.
Fine.
And then it's Councillor Kamkam.
If Councillor Mhlana is covered, that issue is sufficiently budgeted. That's fine.
Councillor Kamkam.
Speaker, I think we did have a proposal. Can I please second the proposal from the Executive Mayor?
Item is proposed by the Mayor and seconded by Councillor Kamkam. The third item under section 2, the amendment to the adopted Bitou preferential procurement policy is item C, stroke 2, stroke 105, stroke 02, stroke 23. It is addendum 2. On the addendum, it is page 3 to 25. The item is now serving. Ma'am?
Speaker, I think for fairness, the policy was approved by council, but it's just a slight error. End of that policy, can give the CFO so that councillors understand where is that mistake, why is it coming back now?
CFO?
Thank you, Speaker. Firstly, my apology for submitting the thing in haste. Firstly, the policy was drafted after guidance was given from the provincial and national treasury early this year only, when we got the guidance on new policies. Every municipality was responsible to develop a new policy, so we did that one, and we presented it to council, and council approved the principles in the policy, which is exactly what is contained in that table. So the only thing we omitted from presenting to council at that time of presenting the policy was to include this table, because we said in the 80-20 and the 90-10 preference point system on your triple EEE status, you would get points for that certificate that you submit in terms of the 2009 regulation. Now that points that you would score for those levels of BEE is not clearly defined or set out in the policy. Although the principal said 10 points in the 80-20 would go towards BEE and 5 points in the 90-10 would go towards that, this table was not included in the policy. So the only thing we are requesting council is approve that we include this table that is before you under the recommendation in the policy.
Thank you, CFO. Councillor Nyal?
Speaker, with that explanation from the CFO, I propose that we accept the proposal to this additional table in the policy and approve the policy.
Thank you. Proposed by Councillor Nyal. Councillor Olivier?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Olivier. We have no items for section 3, no items for section 4. Section 5, engineering services. Municipal infrastructure projects, in brackets MIG, revision of detailed project implementation plan, in brackets DPIP. The item is item C, stroke 5, stroke 55, stroke 02, stroke 23. You'll find the item on page 98. The item is now serving. Councillor Mzana?
Yeah, Speaker, there is a project, Olweni Cultural Village. I don't know, maybe the HOD, the director, they can assist. Is it category? Does it fall under which category? Because every time I don't see it on the MIG.
As far as I'm concerned, that project was not funded by, it was funded by provincial Department of
Yes.
Arts, Sport. Yes, I'm looking for that. It was not funded under the
Thank you. Councillor Nyal?
Speaker, I propose that we condone the decision taken by the mayor in terms of his delegated powers.
Deputy Mayor?
Second, Speaker.
Proposed by Councillor Nyal, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Just want to make sure we have all the items. I think that's it for the portfolio of index. All items. We will go back to the business of the order of business. Under point 11, urgent matters submitted by the municipal manager, none. Point 12, the consideration of notice of motions. It is included in the agenda. We received 2 motions, and then a furthermore, which is under point 13, but I will take the 12.1, notice of motion dated 17 February 2023, received by Councillor Mangaba. The closing of unused and health hazardous dams and maintenance of water trenches and stormwater channels in Ward 5. I can just read the first one. Put it with me. I'll read it now into the record. This one here.
Reload. Was Lando.
The first one. The first notice of motion. I, Councillor Samkele Alungedo Lamla Mangaba, hereby give notice in terms of Council Standing Rules of Order by law of my intention to tender this motion at the next ordinary. Yes, sir. Councillor?
I thought you were going to allow him to read it himself.
If he does want to read it,
Because it's not yours.
wants to move it, then it's fine. Councillor, do you want to?
Thank you, Speaker. And thank you that you had to pull yourself towards yourself and remind yourself of the rules of order. The first I'm reading into the record is the closing of unused and health hazardous dams and maintenance of water trenches and stormwater channels in Ward 5. It goes, I, Councillor Samkele Alungedo Lamla Mangaba, hereby give notice in terms of Council Standing Rules of Order by law of my intention to tender this motion at the next ordinary council meeting or special council meeting. On the 27th of January 2022, which is last year, I extended an invite to the mayor as well as the speaker to do a walkabout in my ward. And it was not for Facebook, it was not for popularity, but it was so we could actually easily identify the situation that our people are found sitting with in terms of the dams and the trenches and families around there constantly reporting that they're fallen sick because of such. Upon that engagement, the executive mayor promised a virement of R1 million from the berm that was actually meant for the waste transfer station to actually have this handled because he could see the urgency of the matter. And to this point, it's not attended. So I appeal to this council to actually attend to it before we actually have cases that are actually submitted with regards to the implications of health with regards to that space. I had to sort of paraphrase it because it's very long. Yeah, but that's ideally what I actually wanted to actually bring to your attention. And I made a decision, or we've made a decision rather as a collective that going forward, this is a form of communication that is acceptable at council that would actually, you know, sort of protect us from being badgered at when we ask questions and we actually ask questions, relevant questions about service delivery.
There's a, you move for the motion and then there's a seconder. Councillor Tabai, do you second?
Yes, Speaker.
Seconded.
All documented.
I take it that we will deal with all the motions and then we will respond or writing or verbal.
Yeah, no, Speaker, I think before I respond, I wanted us to deal with one matter on the rules of order. You know, the just crowds assist us quickly, man, with the rules of order. If you look carefully, I think it's 37. You know, when the motion is started, before I deal with all of these motions, when a motion is submitted, you know, it's submitted by the two councillors to you. It's read on record as you have done it. So procedurally, once you've read it here, it's noted. I have to respond
6 days.
6 days after that. That's the process. In running the risk that I might accuse of running away, I am prepared to respond to the motion. So either we then follow that 6 days, or we deal with these matters and close them, all of them, I have prepared responses, some are in writing that provide to Jessica. The only one is this one. A discussion of councillors on the side, and they discuss outside office development done. I don't know about that. How do I respond? I think that one I prefer to the executive mayor, because how do I respond on the discussion of the councillors on site, about environments that needs to be done? That's the only one that I have not prepared any response. The mayor will speak for himself, because I asked him in order to try and prepare a response about this meeting and all this commitment. So he's got an answer for that himself. So you can make a ruling, Speaker, that will follow that process, or we respond and get done with the matter.
I wanted to, let me read. Point 37, notice of questions. Point 3, the member to whom such questions is posed may answer the question at the meeting referred to in subsection 2, or if the member elects to answer the question in writing, he or she may do so within 6 work days after the meeting. So I take it you will respond 6 days after this meeting on the other matters, except for this one, if I'm correct?
No, Speaker, I elect to respond verbally here, if you agree. I've got the answers to matters. It's not matters that I still need to write it, but I just wanted you to make all councillors be aware in terms of that, if the member elects to respond in writing. So, I've got the answers, I can respond and get done with the matters,
Make it that you will respond in writing 6 days after this meeting. More onwards.
Speaker?
Councillor Mhlana?
Yeah, I think you read it correctly there. Now the MM says he can respond now. I think it's his prerogative.
Make a decision to answer either now verbally or what is your decision?
I can answer now verbally. I've also prepared some in writing.
That can complement.
So that can complement what I say verbally. I can answer and get done.
Okay. So you wish to answer now?
Prepared to answer now.
Okay, thanks, MM. With the first one?
The first one I said I cannot answer. It's a discussion of the councillors on site. So I prepared the mayor to respond. So the mayor must speak for himself in terms of their discussion and the promise of environment. Was
Mayor, will you respond after this meeting within 6 days' time, or do you wish to respond now?
Respond now, Speaker, thanks.
Okay.
I'm aware of the meeting we had and the walkabout that we had. I know we did speak about work that needs to be done, and it was referred back to the department as well. I do not recall promising that I would give R1 million. I would normally first check that the budget's available. So as far as I can remember, I did not promise anything, but I know it was referred to the department to clean up the area. There were other people there that also don't recall that, but then again, we've been separated where the councillor might say I did say so. But I don't recall promising that I'd give R1 million to clean it. But it has been referred to the department and it needs to be looked at, because that area is a problem area and it does need to be looked at.
Get your response, Mayor? Thank you. Speaker? Councillor?
There's just inconsistencies in terms of his response, because if ideally, and you were there, but I won't ask you to confirm neither deny what actually transpired the day, because already I can tell which side of the room you're in. But no.
Okay, continue.
I've been often quiet the entire session because it just became too hostile for me. Hence, I'm saying I wouldn't want you to confirm nor deny it. However, if he says he saw the mess and the department were communicated with regards to cleaning it, with what budget if there was not any? Because I didn't know that there was actually R1 million that was set aside for the berm up until he made mention of it. And he said, we're going to prioritize this instead of that.
Yeah.
And I'm not fabrication malicious lies in this space.
I take it you accept the response on the first motion? Second one, which deals with the Kwanakatula graveyard.
Chairperson, Rudolph, can you send to the ladies? If you allow us to just quickly open the map, I must stand that side, Chairperson, if you don't mind, because I've always stated stated that I'm a teacher by profession, and I'll tell you later on why. If you don't mind, I'm responding to this map. Did you send all maps? So let's start with the first part. Before you are accused of, maybe you should allow the councillor to read the motion. I think otherwise you will be accused of,
Yeah. Councillor, can you please read the motion of the Kwanakatula graveyard?
Thank you, Speaker. I'll do that. I like that you keep taking a hint from the MM. Getting to the second one, Kwanakatula graveyard. After receiving several notifications and complaints from residents of Ward 5 and 6 regarding the Kwanakatula graveyard teaming and their frustration about a decision that was made without a consultation and a proper public participation, that future regional cemetery based in Ebenezer will be the one used. I took it upon myself to make necessary arrangements to meet with the relevant officials to address this issue. I'd received clear communication from the team that budget is made available for further extension of that Kwano graveyard. Now it is my appeal that can we actually fast track it, because at the moment I think after 7 to 10 funerals that yard will be full, and we would not want to actually make our communities uncomfortable with such a thing that was raised way in advance. We can actually plan around it and ensure that we actually ensure that that is actually done, because we had walked the land already. It did, for me, it didn't look like there's much that requires to be done. However, I was told it will be barricaded and further there'll be a wall that is going to be built so that it's not really exposed to the community. Then we can actually start working at it. Now, I just need timeframes with regards to that, because we are really frustrated.
The MM is here. You will respond, MM?
Speaker, one of the skills that is very important for a human being is called cognitive skill. It's a very extremely important skill for a human development, because it teaches you in the early life of your development. That is why I was saying I should have been a teacher, because it teaches you to help your brain to think, to read, to learn, to reason, to pay attention and remember. Cognitive skill is very important at the early age. That is why it's important for teachers to teach it to the children at the early age of their development. Yeah. Now, we're talking about graveyard here in this area. In terms of council decision and council processes of this council, this whole area went through a process of EIA, was approved for a grave site. This whole area. Can you go to the second map? That's on record. The second part is, now there's a boundary line that is here. You will see it cut off this area, because there's a wall that has been built here. All that needs to be happening is that the wall must be removed to the boundary, and this area can be utilized for cemetery purposes. That is already what this council resolved, that this whole area. Somebody then put the boundary wall here, which is something that is an administrative issue. You know, cognitive skill and repeat speaker is very important, because you need to think, you need to refer to knowledge, you need to refer to things in the past. So I have responded on the matter, Councillor, through you speak, Councillor Manava. All that is an administrative issue. I think your request is that it must be fast tracked. director is here. He asked me to fast track. I can also state in the response, I stated that there's a tender for fencing of municipal, what do you call them, facilities. That tender is in the specification on Wednesday. So once it's completed, and then that process can be done to fence this area around so that this area can be utilized. According to the records that I have received, we're left with 40.
40 on the existing.
40 on the existing. So if this is done, it does not meet, the 40 does not mean that now we have to wait in order to utilize this. So the department must just go and see if there's need to be leveling of the ground or whatever, or cleaning, then they can utilize this. The fencing can come later on. I think that's an issue in terms of that motion, Speaker. Thanks.
Thanks, Adam. That motion, it was placed on that two under point 12, point 13. The consideration of notice of questions circulated. It is in the agenda. It is the motion of questions dated 26 September 2022, received from Councillor Mhlana, the termination contract of the former Director of Corporate Services. Can we have it on record, please?
Thank you. I just want you to note, Ludolf excused himself. It's because you requested me before you proceed that you would want to be excused, or when we deal with the other motion which relates to himself, is uncomfortable sitting in a meeting.
Can we continue with the motion?
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Speaker. Councillor, with a level-headed mind and a cognitive ability that is functional, will read. I, Councillor, hereby give notice in terms of Council Standing Rules of Order bylaw of my intention to pose the following questions at the next ordinary meeting, council meeting or special council meeting. 1, it was brought to our attention that the Director of Corporate Services employment contract was terminated effectively on the 31st of August 2022. Question is, please confirm the status of Mrs. Mpahlo's employment within Bitou Municipality. Second question is, if the above point be affirmative, what were the factors that brought about the termination of her employment contract? Third, who authorized the unilateral termination of employment contract of the director? 4, were there any settlement negotiations between the municipality and the director with regards to the termination of the employment contract? Lastly, if the answer to the point above is affirmative, what were the detailed terms of those negotiations to have those terms been fulfilled?
Are you moving with your motion? Can I have the seconder? Second. Amen. Will you respond?
Mr. Speaker, I think it's not both the other skill. There's a specific skill that I wanted to quote, but which is relevant also. The first one is relevant, but the second one is relevant also here. I think I must not go to risk of meeting degenerating. Speaker, that motion is a repetition of everything the councillors have said in the meeting where I submitted an item to this council regarding that matter. I submitted an item in this council. To date, there are councillors who believe that I have misled this council. They've said everything that is said. That is going to come at some other point in terms of also how I personally deal with that. The matter was then referred to the bargaining council. The bargaining council seated. We are expecting the results within 14 days, and 14 days is expiring tomorrow for the commissioner. I presented the side of the municipality. Mrs. Mpahlo represented herself and presented her side of it. I'm still On the same point that I said when I reported this matter to council, that there is a termination. So everything that is actually raised there, it's a belief and the view of certain councillors to say that there was no termination. So let's rather wait for that matter. Then I report to council tomorrow once that matter is actually, you're right, legal word is sub judice, but I don't want it to be misused. That's why I'm responding. So the report will be submitted in this full council. Once that report of the commissioner has been received, which is the due date is by tomorrow, the 14 days, then submit it to council. And then we have to take it there from Speaker, but let's not preempt who's gonna sue who, in terms of what has been said in that other meeting, but let's just receive that report then, and then take it from there.
Thank you, MM.
Speaker.
Yes, Councillor.
I believe we're actually on the motion of questions. Now I think we are delving into the case, which is irrelevant at this point. Could we actually have answers that are directly linked to the questions so that we can move on? If that is going to be in writing, or if that's going to follow in 7 days, let that be then. Apart from that, we are not discussing the case now. All we want to know is the answers to these questions. And we are doing this formally so that it is actually recorded, because the last we did it with what's around. So I ask again that you actually guide council that when there's motion of questions, we answer directly. And especially when we have such, okay, it's fine.
Just go up, ask administration to scroll up, Speaker. The matter is responded to here. No. Yeah. The question will refer to the municipal manager. A question, termination of employment was discussed at the meeting. That's why I said here that this matter was discussed in committee in full of this full council. That termination was discussed. I'm leaving aside, I'm not raising other side issues that other councillors believe that termination was not a mutual termination and all of those. I'm saying it was discussed here. Secondly, the matter is now, we are waiting for a bargaining council, because only the bargaining council outcome would assist the councillors who have perceptions that there is no mutual termination of contract. And only after that, the municipal manager must also then make a determination which is going to inform this council about the insults that happened to him in that meeting. But let's wait for that. That's all that I'm asking, and I'm responding to the council. Well, let's wait for that. Once we have received that, we take that matter that further speaker. There is a response in writing.
Thank you, MM. Can we move to the next one? The next one under point 13, it is 13.2. Motions of questions dated 17 February 2023, received from Councillor Manaba. The appointment of manager, planning and building control. Councillor, can you move?
Thank you, Speaker. Once again, it has come to our attention that the former Director of Economic Development and Planning is now appointed as manager, building control and planning. Please confirm if this be true. Second, this position had a person acting on it for over a year or so. And during this time, its task level was at T level 15. However, when it was published, it was placed at 17. Question, was there any task evaluations done to justify the task level spike? Third, could it be that the appointee manipulated the process in his favor by ensuring requirements of the position are heightened to disqualify the person who was formerly acting and leave the institution with no choice but to take him in as the rightful candidate? Four, attached herein, I attached the advertisement that was actually published on the 18th of November. Attached herein is a vacancy advertisement of the post manager building control and planning that was published on the 18th of November last year. According to the document, Mr. Gerika was the direct contact person for inquiries in the same post he subsequently applied for and now appointed as such. What does this say about ethics? 5, is this an acceptable conduct in this municipality? 6, how did the HR office miss this when recruitment processes were underway? 7, what is the accounting officer doing about it? 8, according to the performance management report that the accounting officer presented to council last year, the incumbent in question had been underperforming at his office, and that his office became a focus area. Does the HR regulations gazetted in September 2021 and rolled out last year, July, supports underperforming or non-performing candidates to vie for an advertised position within the same institution they're failing to perform in? 9, what will this council do about this misconduct? 10, when can we expect a thorough feedback about it? Thank you.
Can the seconder? Seconded. Ken?
Let me respond, Speaker. Is in writing that, this is, again, Speaker, where the issue of cognitive skill is very important,
Are you going to allow him to badger me whenever I speak?
I'm going to elaborate. Speaker,
Can you just stop shouting out?
Councillor Nel, I will have this. Councillor Mangaba?
Speaker,
You were okay by the time.
Councillors, we have a response?
as an accounting officer, I have to apply this, And I want to emphasize, this is not something that I'm throwing at somebody. I want to understand in terms of application of the skills, in terms of how I've applied my mind as an accounting officer. Not to throw anything on somebody else or anything else, maybe people thinking that is where it's going. 1, before I respond, Speaker, the matter was dealt with in a council meeting dated 31st of 2023. This is very important, Speaker. That's why I'm emphasizing the issue of cognitive skill, because it teaches you to remember. The matter was dealt on the 31st of January 2023. Councillor Mhlana stopped you and said to you, Speaker, how did we arrive at this that we are degenerating to discuss a position that is not a Section 56? How did we come? You made then a ruling, Speaker, to say that you were not aware what Councillor Kapai was going to say. It was correct from your side. You were correct, Speaker. I want to state it on record. You were correct because you could not have predicted what Councillor Kapai was going to say. Even if I have given you some powers that made you to foresee the future, you could not have predicted.
Speaker.
You responded correctly.
Speaker.
And said what you said.
Order, Speaker. Speaker.
Let me just hold on, On what point?
These are motions. These are motions. And in point form, there are questions. Believing that when you answer motions, you answer them in that order. Now there is Councillor Gabai now. He is not here. So must I not respond?
You wish to?
Must I not respond?
No, I will.
No, I'm asking a question.
I take it what you are raising.
Must I not respond?
I ask you not to respond if possible. I will correct the to answer.
No, you've been doing this. When the is out of order, you keep quiet. You see? And I have never seen an official of the municipality employed by this council teach that to councillors who are politicians. It's the first time that I'm hearing this. It's the first time that I'm saying this in this council. Ever since there were municipal managers in this council, they keep quiet, and it's us who ask for clarity to them, not them dictating what is supposed to be done in council. It has never happened. You don't look down to somebody who has employed you, whether you think he or she is stupid. We are not educated here. That is why legislatively government employs people who are educated to give advice to these people who are not educated. Because we are voted into power. We are elected we don't go to, we don't bring CVs and so on and so forth. So I think you are hearing this. It is for the first time in this council. There are so many municipal managers who are here in these chairs. They have never done tit-tat with the politicians. Thank you very much.
I think I must also say that if you have noticed, in most instances, I ask for assistance. It's not that out of his own will. In most
No,
instances.
it's fine, you can defend the defenseless. You can defend the defenseless, fine.
Can we behave, please, councillors?
Let me just on record, Speaker, you giving me an opportunity to respond. I stated before I respond directly to the motion, I want to bring to you your attention the first point, which is critical before I respond to the motion. So I don't have a vocabulary of tic-tac. I don't know what it means. I'm not going to respond on that.
I will say,
Councillor,
I'm going to respond.
The first issue
can I ask that councillors, can we behave? Can we behave, please?
Because you don't put.
We have.
This issue was discussed in council. Council, I'm trying to ask how did we generate and then discuss this employment under this item. You made a ruling. So all that I'm saying, Speaker, now, if you want me to respond now, I can respond. But I want you to remind you so that you can remember that the matter was dealt with, it was closed because it's a matter that Council Amplana raised, that is a matter that is not a section 56. But I don't have a problem, I can respond to all of those. And I would appeal to you, Speaker, that you give me still to respond. But I just wanted to be on record so that you make a ruling on that one. But my appeal to you is let me respond on the matters.
Can I just ask can we respond in terms of points, questions raised, and then answer directly for the questions raised?
Thanks, Let's go. If you can just go to the motion for me.
They want to vote.
Councillors, we have a response for the motion?
So the first issue is it has come to our attention that the director is now appointed in the position of building control. Please confirm if this is true. That is true. Simple. It's true because I reported even in this council that he is appointed. Hence, this council took a decision to actually advertise the position. So the first question, it's information that is there in front of council. That council knows about it. Every councillor knows about it here. This position, I've been vinegar over a year during the term 15. Now it is 217. Where is that document? Community services. I could not print copies for everyone because it's a waste of resources of the municipality. The one that I said you must give to Jessica with those attachments of the adverts and everything. Can you just circulate it, start it please on the left-hand side? So the position was advertised on a T17. That is the application of the mind because this council approved an organigram. In the organigram that you have approved, you have taken maintenance of buildings and facilities from Melanie's department to town planning to that position. You have taken certain functions which in terms of the approved organigram, that is why I emphasize on the issue of cognitive skills, Speaker. This is a decision of this council. So when we advertise this position, I applied my mind and then I said, this position was on a T15 previously without this additional task. Now, having considered that there's additional task being given this position, what will be the appropriate task level? Now, at that time, we have not done what you call a task evaluation. You then advertise, go back on one position of Bitou Municipality. No, not one of George, Bitou Municipality, this one. Here is an example. There's nothing sinister. We've been advertising for this position subject to task. Go to the next one. George Municipality does it. BNF Municipality does it because the accounting officer and HR led by HR people have applied their mind to say there's additional responsibilities and functions that have been added in this position. So it cannot be that task. Here is the outcome, which fortunately I was praying that we received before this meeting. This still needs to be signed off by the joint, what you call it? The job description of the district. Yeah. All positions are evaluated at the district level. Here is a provisional outcome, which must be signed in terms of the final audit. it says T17. I think you deserve to say the municipal manager must be clapped for hands in terms of how he has applied his mind, in terms of foreseeing that this position is not going to be TA15. Credit when it's due, it should be given, Speaker. You know, there is an outcome. There is an outcome because I've applied my mind in terms of how I arrived at the decision. I'm not emotional. I've applied my mind. So you go to the next question on this thing. So from there, could this be manipulated position, highlight, disqualify Mr. Vinegar about, you know? So that matter is actually moot now. It's mute because it was never intended to disqualify Mr. Vinegar. It was based on the organigram and the structure which you as this councillor approved, with those additional responsibilities of those artisan people that must work under that section, you know. So attached here is an advert. Mr. Vinegar was the person for inquiries, contact person subsequently appointed. What does it say about his ethics? I am not Mr. Herika to know about his ethics, you know. Is this an acceptable conduct? Did HR knew when they were advertising the position that Mr. Herika is going to apply? Did I know? Because Mr. Herika did not tell me that he's going to apply for the position. So the advert was out because he was a director at the time. So there's nothing wrong that the advert says it must be the inquiry to him, you know. Where there could be unethical conduct is when Mr. Herika, people who phoned him, misled them about the information about this position or gave them wrong information, which is not what we are discussing here, you know. How did HR miss this thing? HR did not miss anything because they would not have projected that Mr. Herika is going to apply. What is the accounting officer going to do about this? Accounting officer cannot do anything. Speaker, through you, let me say again, in the last council meeting, I responded on this thing, and I want to caution that we work on hearsay. There's nothing I'm going to do about this thing because I knew from the last council meeting that this is just an hearsay or what I call passage discussions, you know. And I caution that we must be careful about these things and ask the relevant information. So there's nothing I'm going to do about it now. Those who are alleging there were allegations made last time, you know, they must go through that process which I've indicated to them. According to the performance agreement, again, you know, Councillor Kolap, you're looking at me, and I think because of age difference, you know, you make me to withdraw what I was going to say, you know, because I was going to talk about selective. Let me not use the other word, but let me not use just because how you actually look at me now. But councillors again, yeah. On number 8, let me remind you, all the directors did not get a performance bonus because all of them performed badly. Now, let's zoom in quickly on this one director because now, yeah, this thing has been personalized to one person as if all other directors have performed. This director at that time, Ludolf Herriger, did not perform at the level of being at directorate level. If he has made a decision, which he has discussed with me, and I've openly said to that he did even tell Lonwabo at that time that he didn't want to apply and operate at that level. And that's what he shared with me now to say he does not want to operate at level. So can you now conclude, because you were given an automatic car, or sorry, you're given manual car, you struggle to change the brake, now you are given an automatic car, that you automatically struggle to change the gear, because there's no gear to change now in the automatic car. So we cannot conclude here now that in the position that is appointed at now, he has failed, because we have not evaluated him. By the way, we gave him 6 months probation as any other municipal official. So it is incorrect to then conclude because he has not performed as a director. So it's given then that we have to follow the process like many other staff members and give him an opportunity in the 6 months, which is very clear in terms of his appointment letter. What will council do about this misconduct? What misconduct? What misconduct? There's no misconduct. What can we expect? When can you expect a feedback? This is the feedback that I'm actually given, Speaker, in terms of this of this process and this position. Ludolf is appointed. He has discussed thoroughly with me. I asked Ludolf to remain in this council meeting. He has asked to be excused. Ludolf has asked to take leave. I said to him, you cannot take leave because we still need to appoint a director. Ludolf has told me that he felt being vindicated, attacked personally. Yes, he admits that there were areas where he did not perform as expected as a director, but he indicated to me that he felt that some of other things said in council were beyond the scope of council. So he asked to be excused in this meeting now. I don't really agree. I would have seated, people must say it in front of me, in my face, whatever they want to say, I respond in terms of that, speaker. So that's.
Is that the response, Emem?
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Emem, for the response. Councillor Manaba.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I must bring it to this council that part of why we're here is to play an oversight role. And now being vilified because of playing your role is highly unbecoming. And then again, when we pose questions, I would rather we actually maintain a formal decorum of council. We just respond to them without having to belittle one another. Yes, this is feedback, but we didn't just ask for feedback, we asked for a thorough one. But by the look of things, it doesn't look as though that's going to happen. And we're okay with that.
Thank you. We move on to the next one, 13.3. The motion of questions dated 17 February 2023, received from Councillor Mangaba. The Plet Tourism Association. Can the mover move?
I need water. Thank you, Speaker. Considering that points made and questions raised on tourism and local economic development throughout year 2022 were never answered at Council, we saw it pivotal that we pose the questions in this form so that at least there may be a sense of response. We have listed them in subsections to enable a coherent, direct, and unambiguous response. May it be noted that we are purely doing our sole mandate, which is playing an oversight role. Under Plet Tourism Association, is it a registered NGO or NPC? Why isn't it listed on CIPC online system? Or are they rather registered on a different name? If so, what is that name? Please provide us with the list of directors of the said organization, if there's any. According to research we had conducted, Plet Tourism Association is listed amongst clients of the Media Box company, a company belonging to the CEO of Plet Tourism Association. Kindly confirm again if this be true. Does the organization have a conflict of interest policy in place? Do consultants invoice as per timesheet, or is it a set fee every month? Events and costs. Could we be provided with events and costs linked to a specific event funded? Please substantiate why an event or a company is funded. Who is the service provider and who is it that actually approves such payments? Moving into the magazine and publications, could we be provided with full disclosure of publications paid? What is Cindy Trollop's role in the Plet tourism? To whom does the magazines belong to? Because again, according to the research that I actually had done online, you find that the MAC magazine that is actually funded by State Tourism. Its sub-editor is actually somebody working within that space again. If we were to consult the memorandum of understanding between Bitou Municipality and Plat Tourism and evaluate the expectations, would it justify or support our continued efforts funding the association with the state funds that would have assisted a great deal in providing basic service delivery in our communities? Again, Speaker, these questions I would understand if we are unable to answer them in this space. However, whoever is mandated as a municipal champion can actually gather all the necessary information that is required and bring it to our attention.
Thanks, Councillor. Can we have the seconder? Seconded by Councillor Kabai. On this one, can I ask that
on the right hand also, while we're waiting for the document, I must just say, but maybe let me not congratulate Councillor Manana. He's a new councillor for this term in terms of how he has applied his mind in terms of this motion and the cognitive skill that I'm talking about. But I'm really not congratulating outside the meeting while we're waiting for the document. But it speaks to really that issue. Respond on behalf of tourism. I did ask them to respond. They have responded in writing. All that I can say is the copy is available.
That's what I was gonna ask, that this be circulated to the councillor.
Yeah.
Please, because otherwise we're gonna.
Yeah, because I'm sure councillors will have to read it and apply their mind again. So we've got the answers, so we can just provide the answers. That's fine.
Can I ask that this be responded within the time frame stated, within 6 days on this matter? Response will be circulated. Can we move? Point 14. Considerations of motions of exigency. We have received none. Councillors, the administration requires normally 5 minutes in committee. We will now move to point 15, which is the in-committee matters. Thank you for those in attendance. We will take a 5-minute break and come back to deal with in-committee. Thank you.